Hello guys, Crispy here, welcome back to another video. In this one, my friends, I'm going to be testing Monster Hunter Wilds in its recommended system requirements. Let's go over them now. Scrolling down here on the Steam page shows us the recommended requirements. It asks for an i5 11600K, i5 12400, Ryzen 5 3600X or Ryzen 5 5500. Now, out of these four CPUs, I have the Ryzen 5 3600X, which is the slowest of the bunch. So if you have any of the other CPUs, it will perform a little bit faster. On the memory, it asks for 16 gigabytes of RAM. I'm running that in dual channel. It's CL16 RAM 3200 MHz DDR4. And finally, for the graphics cards, it asks for the RTX 2070 Super, which I don't have, the RTX 4060, which I do have. This is the MSI Ventus version of the card, and the RX 6700 XT, which I also have. This is the Sapphire Pulse edition, and I will be testing both the Nvidia and the AMD GPUs here. And finally, it also requires an SSD, so I have installed it on SSD. And the most interesting part of these system requirements is that they were made with frame generation in mind. Developers, this is no good, okay? Just optimize your games, don't rely on frame generation and upscaling and so on. Like, looking at this sentence right here tells me it's going to be a terrible experience already, because with frame generation, there is a lot of input lag, especially when the baseline FPS is below 60 frames, and this requires frame generation for you to achieve 60 frames. So, no, this is terrible, okay? But let's see how it does. Shall we? Alright guys, we're starting with the RTX 4060 first with the latest Nvidia drivers. You can see all of its specs right here in Tech Power Up's GPU Z. And on the left, we got the Ryzen 5 and the 16 gigs of RAM installed. Okay, let's go over the settings first. I'm starting at 1080p with the medium settings, what they recommend, you know, but without frame generation enabled at the moment and without any upscaling enabled as well, just to see how it performs at native resolution. Okay, here we are, guys. 99% CPU utilization for a second there, but now it went down. Now, your FPS will depend on where you are in the map, of course, as well as how many people are inside of the server. This one seems to be pretty populated. We have like 10 people here in this particular area, and it's getting down into like 31, 32 FPS at its minimum. Yeah, does this seem, with a lot of stuttering as well, does this seem like a recommended requirements PC? Or a recommended requirements experience? Obviously, we still haven't enabled frame generation, which is what they recommend on the requirements. But still, come on, like, first of all, FG is BS in system requirements at least, right? And second, the game doesn't even look that great. And it's performing like absolute crap. Like, even over here, we're far away from the people already. Like, they're up there. And it's still getting 30s. I, of course, saw this coming because even my 7950X 3D with an RTX 4090 was dropping into the 40s at times, okay? And getting, like, mostly 55 to 60 FPS in that other area. So yeah, this is completely expected coming from an RTX 4060 and this CPU, which is bottlenecking it most of the time. Right now it isn't actually, so sometimes GPU can be the bottleneck, other times the CPU will be. Oh my god, oh that's a big boy. Okay, yeah, over here it drops into the same values. This is a bit more GPU intensive in this area, I guess, with the bushes and so on. And up there, it's obviously way more CPU bound and CPU intensive because we got all of the NPCs, the stores, the interactable things, and the players themselves as well. So I'm just gonna go up there again. I hope the weather changes as well because it gets way more beautiful whenever it's daytime, basically, or not stormy, you know? But hey, we are back here, getting down into the 30s once again, pretty much the same crap as we saw previously, a little bit less of a drop in FPS. It looked like there was daytime already, but no, it isn't. So I guess they actually tested their system requirements for 30 plus FPS all of the time at native resolution, you know? Because that's exactly what this is capable of, and that means that with frame generation, it will achieve 60. But again, frame generation with a baseline FPS that's low is crap. Right? Alright, let's just enable the LAA here, which is still native resolution, okay. It just has the anti-aliasing from DLSS, basically. And let's enable the frame generation now. So, with FG, we get those 60 FPS. Alright, so this is exactly in line with the requirements, but again, like, who wants to play like this? The input lag is insane, actually. And it's dropping from 60 still. Like, usually, in games like Black Myth Wukong and basically single-player titles, you know, I'd be fine with an experience with frame generation of about like 70 plus FPS all of the time, with some drops into the 70s, you know. That's a decent and playable experience with frame generation that I would consider. This right here isn't, because the input lag right now, especially when it drops from 60 FPS, which happens quite a few times, is very, very big. Does that matter in Monster Hunter Wilds? I'm not sure. I am not a Monster Hunter player, you know. I've only benchmarked Monster Hunter Worlds a couple of times here in the channel. Didn't get much into it, you know. And this one, well, I've played for a little bit with the RTX 4090, and now I'm playing with the recommended requirements. So I can't really tell if you absolutely need fast reactions and so on. If you don't, you can get by with this. But again, remember, the input lag is pretty big. It's not as bad as I was expecting after seeing the requirements, though. Not gonna lie, like 60 FPS, especially now that we're at 70, it's feeling okay. But again, whenever it drops into the 50s, it's rough. Also, I gotta mention something about these reflections. They're absolutely terrible. But let me go this way, actually. Yes, there we go. Yeah, those reflections right there. I was going to showcase the reflections, and the game decided to completely change its weather. But I mean, you can probably go back in the video and see what I was talking about. The reflections are really poor in this one, at least on medium settings, you know. I didn't really pay too much attention with the 4090 on Ultra to those, but yeah, like overall the game is not that good looking, right? It's pretty sometimes, especially if you are playing in the daytime. As you can see, it looks alright, yeah, but come on, it should not have been this intensive. And it's still a beta, I know, they still got time to optimize it a little bit, maybe, but after what I saw in Dragon's Dogma 2, their other game, I am not feeling that this will perform much better than this, guys. Anyway, should we do like quality DLSS here for a second? I'm also going to disable frame generation, just going to run DLSS quality. And okay, we're back into the 30s. It's expected because we were already CPU bound at native resolution, and now we're getting exactly the same FPS. So in this way, you can clearly tell that this is a true CPU bottleneck scenario. Enabling DLSS doesn't really improve things by much. It's absolutely ridiculous, once again, how CPU intensive this is. This is only like, what, 10 players or so, right? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 with me. Maybe, yeah, there's another one right here, a couple of them. Maybe like 15 to 20 players in this area. And it runs like absolute crap. That frame time is not consistent, it stutters, it keeps on stuttering infinitely. Look at that. It's just... At least the game isn't out yet, so I'm not absolutely mad at it, you know, and cursing and so on. Because if this was a full release, I would be. Oh my goodness, dude. This is stupid. But yeah, optimize your game, please. And also update the system requirements not to include FG, because, again, FG with a low frame rate, baseline frame rate is just crap. Here we are with quality DLSS plus FG. Everything looks really soft at the moment. Pretty pixelated as well. At 1080p, DLSS doesn't really do a very good job in this title, guys. Yeah. I probably wouldn't really utilize quality DLSS, but hey, at least no, it's actually kind of the same. I was gonna say, hey, at least we can get like 70 plus FPS with quality DLSS plus FG, but no, the baseline FPS were basically the same because we are CPU bound. Anyway, That's it for the 4060, guys. I think there's no point in testing like higher settings and so on. And I think we should utilize the RX 6700 XT next. And here we have the RX 6700 XT installed with the latest AMD drivers here. And I'm not manually overclocking it. You can see all of its specs here in Tech Power Up's GPU-Z. This one has 12 gigabytes of VRAM, which I don't think is going to make a difference, but and over on the left, we're pairing it with the same Ryzen 5 and 16 gigs of RAM. And here we go, guys. Let's go over the settings. 1080p resolution. We're using medium settings preset, no upscaler as well. And this is going to be interesting to take a look at compared to the RTX 4060, because usually when CPU bound, AMD GPUs have a little bit of an edge in terms of performance because of the driver overhead, basically. And here we might be seeing a slightly better frame rate. I'm not sure. Actually, I don't think it touched 40 FPS in this area, right? And it was dropping to like, what, 32 FPS, I believe? Obviously, the stutters are still there and everything. There's a lot of people here in this area as well, just like previously. And this is not the exact same server, you know, with the same people in it. You can't really do a direct comparison in this one, unfortunately. But yeah, it seems to be maybe a tad bit better, but obviously we are still heavily CPU bound here with our 3600X going up to like 80% usage very, very often, 70% usage sometimes, lots of stuttering, and I guess, well, going down there with our boy Roach. Roach, get over here, I want to, there it is, I want to mount him. Let's go, drop down here, 40s, I mean, it's not a perceivable difference, you know. Yes, there might be a little bit of a difference here between this GPU and the 4060, especially here. This GPU is a bit faster than the 4060. Usually, what the hell? Wait, this is the first time that I see this one. Oh boy, I'm not going in that direction. Both of these GPUs, as well as the CPU, I guess, should get better performance in a game like this. It's not impressive looking at all, in my opinion. Once again, like, YouTube compression is going to wreck the image quality a bit, you know, but I'm telling you, this is on medium settings. I also played the game on the highest settings, ultra settings, with the RTX 4090, and the game is not visually impressive, basically, okay? Obviously, again, it's still a beta, so things can improve in terms of the visuals, in terms of the performance, but looking at history, my friends, looking at Dragon's Dogma 2, once again, I'm not sure if it's gonna happen, guys. I think this engine, the RE engine, is not good for open world titles, and there's nothing we can do about it, and there's nothing Capcom can do about it either. Unless maybe they rewrote their engine, you know? I don't know, guys. Obviously, it is very, very hard to run in open world, especially on the CPU side of things. Now, let's stop it right there. Where it drops the most is right here, so I'm just gonna go back to that area and check it out with the frame generation enabled. I think, yeah, it's not FSR 3.1, guys. It says right there it's 3.0.3, so it sucks. Because if it was FSR 3.1, we would probably be able to run like XeSS here with frame generation enabled, but that's not going to be possible. If you want frame generation, you need to use FSR 3. I don't know about the quality of FSR 3 in this game, on quality, for example, yet. We're going to check that out a little bit later, but let's select native AA, enable frame generation, and usually... What the heck? Oh my god. Now, there is no way to tell if that horrible ghosting is the frame generation or the FSR native, but that is absolutely terrible. Actually, there is a way to tell if we disable frame generation here. Yeah, okay, so that ghosting was all because of the frame generation, guys. Whoa! So get this, they recommend you to use medium settings, 1080p resolution with FSR 3 frame generation with the RX 6700 XT, and this is what you get? I get that this is a beta, so this is probably something that they will fix in a full release, but yeah, this is a lot of ghosting, holy crap. And not only that, there's a lot of pixelation as well. Even though this is FSR 3 native AA that we're utilizing right now, the picture quality is way worse than it is with like DLAA, for example, or with the TAA plus FXAA stuff from Native Resolution. This is the worst frame generation implementation that I've seen from FSR FG, actually, in gaming, like from all of the FGs. This is terrible. Look at the ropes there. Holy crap, dudes. I get it, it's a beta. Yes, this will probably get fixed. They might even introduce FSR 3.1, which will get rid of the ghosting and and the pixelation as well, but damn, dudes. Whoa, that's crazy. Well, at least we're getting 60 plus FPS all of the time with FSR FG in this game. Right, over here, 65. So once again, slightly better than the RTX 4060. VRAM usage-wise, it's not hitting 8 gigabytes, so that's fine. Allocation is nearly 8 gigabytes. Ooh, this is nice. A little bit of a different color sky right now. It's sunset. Okay, Roach, get over here. Let's go down there and check it out. The performance is horrible, obviously. Frame generation helps smoothing out everything, basically, like, visually speaking, it is way better in terms of smoothness, but with that amount of ghosting, I wouldn't do this, guys. This is way too much ghosting. I don't like it. And also, in terms of the input lag, I think it's kind of the same as the other one, honestly. Maybe the other one, the 4060, was a little bit worse because the frame rate was a little bit lower as well. Usually the LSS FG doesn't give you the FPS boost that FSR FG gives you. FSR FG gets you a little bit higher FPS, you know. But yeah, in terms of input lag, it's pretty much the same thing. Now, they did say that the quality of the game, whenever it comes out, will be better in this, so hopefully they will optimize it. But again, we got the examples of Dragon's Dogma. This is not the way to optimize games, Capcom. Alright, thanks very much for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'm not gonna do more content in this one. It's still a beta, you know, and I've said everything that I needed to say. Try it for yourselves if you really want to, but it is not looking great. Catch you in the next one. Love you all. Bye-bye.